Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy.
Hi, and I'm Carla.
And together we are the
Eff It
Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Motivation Monday, camaraderie Monday. Yes.
Carla, will you tell all of the wonderful people listening what that means? Because you kind of put it together
I created
for us.
A word. A slang word.
You did.
Yes. So camaraderie is the combination of a mom plus camaraderie. Mom plus camaraderie equals camaraderie. A feeling of friendliness, commonality, and bonding over shared experiences amongst moms.
Which is exactly what we're doing. For everybody tuning in for the first time, I'm Romy. That's Carla. We are the Eff It Madres. We've created this space, this community for moms to come on and share their Eff It moment, their fuck it moment. There will be cussing if your children are listening, if you're in the car, whatever you're doing. We've warned you. But basically, Carla and I started off with a fuck it moment ourselves. And we're in the middle of it. We created this podcast, this space. We started going after things. And so we have our Monday Madres because on Mondays we interview moms that share their Eff It moments. And it's inspiring and it's a great space to hear how people started it, are continuing through it, the results of it, fears around it. So today we have someone who reached out through social media.
Yes. How exciting to get people we don't know.
It's very, it's exciting because we've had people through events, I think, that you've met, moms that I know, friends, kind of different people through people we've met. I mean, we've had some amazing moms on here.
Yeah, really amazing moms.
I just feel so blessed. So then this mom that's coming on today reached out through social media, which anybody listening, if you have an Eff It moment and you are inspired and want to share it, it is therapeutic. Please reach out to us and we would love to see about having you on. So I'm excited. She shared a little bit about her Eff It moment with, I want to say kind of like standing up for her kid, for her son, protecting him and dealing with a school. And she's a teacher. And it sounds like a pretty powerful moment when she was confronted with some bullying.
Yeah.
So
that's an intense subject.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And her name is Darby Harrison.
We have Darby. Hi, Darby.
Hi.
Hi, Darby.
Happy Monday.
Welcome to our show.
Yeah. Happy Monday.
And I know you reached out and we're so happy you did through social media. We're going to dive right into some questions here because you had an Eff It moment with your son. You're a teacher.
Yes.
This dealt with the school. So this is all tied together. So, Carla, you want to start it off?
Yes. All right, Darby. So when did you decide to just Eff It and why?
So it was my son's like 7th grade year in middle school. So middle school is terrible anyway. But it was extra hard for him. I got a phone call one day on my way home from work. He was getting a HIB. And so for people who don't know, that's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So it's something that you get in school there's supposed to be like a 0 tolerance for bullying in every school, everywhere, from what I understand. And so if there is an incident, the school is obligated to fill out this type of paperwork for you and have a Board of Ed meeting and go through all of this stuff. So I find out my son gets one and I'm like, what? Why? After everything that's been going on. So my son is 15. He was diagnosed with autism probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. It masked itself as ADHD and OCD most of his life. So that was like a tough kind of road to navigate. He is different. He's not like a jock. He doesn't really fit into that like typical mold. He loves anime and all that Japanese kind of stuff and marches to his own drummer. So people pick on him. So he was wearing like his favorite anime t-shirt to school. And this one kid is calling him, you're a faggot. You're gay. Your shirt's gay. And I'm like, what? Like adults wear these. Like, so why are we picking on a kid? So I called the school and I talked to the counselor. I said, look, it's concerning. What's going on? And they're boys. This is how they talk to each other. And he needs to learn to get over it. I'm like, wait,
No,
he comes from a
no.
house with 2 mothers. So no, absolutely not. No, we
Yeah.
don't need to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get over his shirt. Like, deal with it. If you don't like it, don't talk to him. And come to find out that this had been going on for a while at school. They would like trip him during gym class and like tell him to say stuff to people and like have a laugh at his expense. And I called the gym teacher on that, and oh, nothing's happening. It's just boys. I'm like, okay, it's ridiculous. Um, so, the one kid ended up getting a hib on him for bullying my son, as he should.
Can I ask something really quick?
Sure.
Just for those who are listening so that we are
Yeah.
educated in this. When you get one of these through a school, is this like something that goes on your record? Like
Yes.
okay, so if somebody's bullying somebody or being bullied, either way, this is something that now goes
Yeah,
on their
it'll
record.
follow
Okay.
you. It will follow my son, unfortunately, through high school.
Wow, I did not know this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so come to find out this other kid had 3 or 4 previous hibs or incidents against him. And I'm like, why is he still in school
Yeah.
if he's harassing children every single day? It was sexual harassment towards a girl. There was other things. And these are 7th graders. So you're what? 13, 12, 13, depending on, So it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And, even the police in the town that we lived in knew about this kid. Like when I, asked about it, they're like, oh, him? Yeah. So I made my report to the school and, had a little bit of faith that my son was going to a safe place every day. They would handle it. So every year my town would have a carnival to benefit the football team. So we would go on rides and eat junk and, have fun. So I'm standing there watching my son and his little friend on one of the rides. And I hear, I'm going to kick your effing ass, Connor. Wait till you get off of this ride. And I'm like I turn my head and I'm looking and he's still talking smack. So I turn around and I get in this kid's face. I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, who do you think that you're speaking to like that? Get out of my face, you old bag. Like, I'm like, now you're speaking to
Oh
an
no.
adult that way. I'm like, where's your mother? She's not here. I'm like, of course she's not, because you wouldn't be acting like a fool if your mother was here. So the next 2 days, my son is terrified to go to school. Terrified. So I'm like, all right, well, stay home. Stay home. Everything's online now anyway with Google Classroom and you can catch up. And, I'm like, all right, well, we can't run from this. We had a couple days to reevaluate and chill out, but we can't run from it.
So is your effort moment essentially becoming the advocate for your son? Is that what it is that you decided to just
Yeah.
stand up for him and be like, fuck it, I'm going to take him out of school, homeschool him. And
Yep.
then when he had to, yeah. Okay.
I mean, I've always been his biggest fan and his biggest advocate as a mom, you guys know, but it's just different when you're not there and somebody's hurting your kid on purpose.
Right.
And
Well, I think you have a choice as a mom to either let it happen
Yeah.
and allow the school district to do it the way that they do it, or as a mom, like it seems like in your story is your effort moment, like Carla was saying, is I'm actually going to take control of this
Mm-hmm.
situation because how you're doing it does not work for me or my
Yep.
son.
Yep.
And those are the choices we have as moms when we hit these crossroads, with things that happen with our children. Do we just allow it to happen or do we effing stand up for them and figure out
Right.
what did you guys do about it?
This is pretty much where I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Eff it. I'm done. I need to be his advocate right now. So this is actually prior all of this to my son getting his hib. This is what led up to that. But I went in and I was like, I need to see somebody, the guidance counselor, the principal, one of you need to sit down and talk with me. So I explained, I was like, look, this is what happened. Now these kids are harassing him outside of school. We can't go anywhere. Oh, well, it didn't happen at school, so we can't do anything about it. But because it's happening in school, it's happening outside of school. So, I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we doing about it? Well, we can make sure they're not in the same classes anymore. And, I'm like, okay, so we're not going to call parents. We're not going to do any of that. We also went to the police and gave them the names of the kids, and they called the, parents and explained, look, your kid's harassing, other kids out in public now. And the one kid who was like the ringleader of all of it, his parents never answered a phone call, like nothing, never returned a phone call, of course. Like, my son does nothing wrong. So this all like led up to my son was in science class, and I don't know, it's part of the autism, the obsessions, and just leave my stuff alone. He had a sticker like on his Chromebook, and the kid came up to it and ripped it off. Like, you know what you're doing? Just leave him alone. Stay away from him. He wasn't even talking to you. Just stay away from him. So, my son started to finally stick up for himself and say, look, oh yeah, you're real cool, like picking on the autistic kid, like leave me alone. And the kid got in his face, and unfortunately my son said something not so kind to him, and apparently the kid felt threatened, so went and reported it. And because of what was said, my son got a hib. And I'm like, are you serious? You guys could have prevented this if you would have provided a safe place. So now my kid is getting punished for sticking up for himself. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, I didn't understand. So when I got that phone call, I'm like, that's it. He's done. He's not going to this school anymore. We called the senator in my state, who his daughter is special needs. So he was a big advocate for that. And he was supposed to be reaching out to superintendents and like all this other stuff to file complaints. But then he got like not reelected. So it kind of fell by the wayside. And I'm looking for like different schools for him to go to, like choice schools. I don't know if that's a thing like where you guys are, but if you live in like a certain county, you can go to a different school if they have an opening. You get to kind of pick, but they only take,
like if it's not in your district, you get to choose to go there.
Yeah, but they only take like a certain amount of kids per grade, like if there's room. And of course, since it was too late and we missed the deadline, we have no openings. So my partner's like, you know what? Eff it. I'll homeschool him. So we did that for a couple of months, but unfortunately she's chronically ill, and we literally just got done with radiation like a month or so ago. So it was rough for her. So it got to the point where we're like, well, he's got to go back to school. We can't afford private school. Like he has to go back to school. He needs education. But I told them, I said, I'm not dealing with the principal who is now the principal, was the vice principal. So I'm not dealing with her. She did nothing. There's a new vice principal. I said, I want all my interactions to be with him. He's the only one that I will deal with. And if there's a problem, it needs to be squared away immediately, because I will call. And I think I called almost every day, like to make sure I was that mom, like the one that teachers dread talking to, because I'm like, what's going on? What happened? Did everybody leave him alone? Because obviously I can't be there.
Is he back in that school now? Is he?
No. So, I mean, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. My mother-in-law, we picked up and moved in with her to help take care of her. So he goes to a completely different district this year, which they haven't said anything. They never said anything about his hib. It's on there, but I mean, he is a good student. He gets good grades, does what he needs to do. He doesn't really bother with anybody, So it's not an issue. But, and ironically, at this school, he's found more friends who are into the same stuff that he likes. So I'm like, I just didn't understand, any of it. Like, I see adults wearing these anime things and talking about it. And so are we going to make fun of them too? Like, it just baffled my mind. Kids are mean. They are mean.
And how did doing this and all this stuff happening make you feel? Like, how are you feeling through all of this?
Sometimes I was scared because I'm like, what if I mess it up and make it worse for him? Then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, you have the crazy mom, or, oh, he's getting made fun of because mom's always around. So there was that. But then at the same time, it's like, well, I'm showing him that you need to stick up for yourself. I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're getting to be older. You're 15. Mom can't always fight your battles. You're going to have to stick up for yourself. And if people don't like you for who you are, then F them. Seriously, like, you
Yeah.
don't need those people around. You don't. They don't make your life better, so you don't need them around. And you'll find your people, and that's it. You don't worry about you. That was, my biggest advice to him.
This whole boys will be boys locker
Yeah.
room talk bullshit that is still happening today
Mm-hmm.
is it allows for this to continue, this
Yeah.
inappropriate behavior, and it's such fucking bullshit. Like, moving forward, it sounds like people of our generation are trying to teach the boys and all the kids that that's just not okay. Like, past generations, that was considered acceptable for whatever fucked up reason, but like, it's just not. Like, it can't
Well,
keep happening at all. So
yeah, I mean, the
yeah.
justification of, hey, this is boys being boys, like that whole statement needs to be thrown in the fucking garbage because,
Yeah.
like just hearing that, like, oh, boys will be boys, or no, like that's not, change that. And if the school
Yeah.
isn't going to take it upon themselves to change it, then it will have to be the mothers and the parents that go, we don't accept that as being okay anymore. There are
Mm-hmm.
consequences for harassment, there are consequences for teasing. There's
Mm-hmm.
a level of protection, but I think so many moms can relate to the fact that, oh my God, did I overstep my, did I overprotect? Did I underprotect? I think we
Yeah.
all, it's such a true challenge that I deal with all the time. I want to protect her from everything and everyone. And on some level I can and will, like you. And then on some level I have to, and I'm sure you deal with that now, like step back and let them fight their battle.
Right. And I don't want to be a helicopter. I don't, because he also needs to grow up and be independent. But I also don't want to sit back so far where it's like, oh, you have your tablet, you have your whatever, just
Yeah.
do whatever, who cares? Like, a lot of parents, like I said, in my school, even, and I teach preschool, these kids all they do is whatever they want, and the parents don't care. I'm like, no, this is crazy to me. No.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
want it to get to that point.
by doing this, by standing up for your son in this situation and dealing with the school and as a teacher and everything, what did it do for your family by doing that?
I think it brought us a little bit closer. Obviously my partner is like a step parent, so their relationship was always a little bit awkward. Like, he knew she was there for him, but it's still somebody else. So he knows she got his back. She
Yeah.
was on the phone all day, like, she was there, so I think it brought us closer. Um, and we realized, like, it's just the three of us. That's all we got,
Mm.
so we can't depend on anybody else. So I think that's the main thing. And I think that it showed my son that, like, you can mess up, and yeah, what you said wasn't cool. You shouldn't have said that to that kid. There were other ways you could have handled it, but you stuck up for yourself, and that's what you need to do, and we have your back.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you
I
set an
think that's
example at the house that in times like this, your family's going to step up, you're going to fight back. And
Yeah.
if anything, even if he continued to get teased, that's a lesson that stays with you for life. Those are the lessons that like shape us in our childhood
Right.
and into our adulthood. Like, you feel supported, you feel like you can fight back things that are happening to you. And Darby,
Yeah.
I completely relate to your situation. I have two special needs brothers, and they were picked on my entire
Yeah.
childhood. Yeah, and we dealt with this all the time, and it is coming to a point when I still hear these stories. It's like, Carla, like you said, like, when does this stuff just
yeah.
end? Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's shitty. There's no other, like, kids are mean, and you don't
Yeah.
really realize it. Like, I didn't realize it when I was my son's age, but when you step back and you see it from that view now, I'm like, wow, kids suck. Like,
Yeah.
they are not nice.
And it's a lot more intense now with social
Yes.
media and all of that. It's really, really, really bad now. Like it's like you really have to be concerned when your kid is even at home because they're getting bombarded with messages and all that sort of stuff that you might not even know about. And that there's a documentary called Bully where like an 11-year-old boy killed himself because he was being bullied at school and they were sending him horrible messages. And he's 11 years old.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
the school's excuse was boys will be boys.
Right.
Like,
And I mean, my son had a lesson one day and it was like, where's your favorite place to be? And he said, anywhere where this boy, like he put his name in, where this boy isn't. And I'm like, why isn't your teacher saying something?
right.
Why isn't he concerned about your answer?
Well, I was having a conversation today and it just like really aligns with this. I was talking to a friend and it was like just about like even just like mental health and really like getting it was like about even just the shootings that are happening right now with schools and stuff like that. And about, what do we do to protect our kids? Do we get all the parents together and do we like protect them on the outskirts? And it's like, no, if we don't fix the problem that's happening in it, if we don't fix this type of, like acknowledging the kid that's doing that and what it's causing and where it leads to, and we don't take it serious, this is when we get really big, horrible incidents that happen because we just brush it off and we don't actually find the root.
Well, one of the things that's really difficult though is that a lot of the bullying stems from home. And
Yep.
either the parents are neglecting them in the sense that they're working too much and they're not home, or maybe they themselves speak to them each other that way. So it's so hard to be able to like get to the root because it's coming from the home a lot of the times, most of the times. So like how do you really fix that systemic issue, you know? I don't know.
Tolerance and acceptance need to be, they want to put all this other stuff into a curriculum at school.
Yeah.
And that's all great and fantastic, but work on the main core of all that other stuff. Like in New Jersey, they're putting trans rights and things into a curriculum. Awesome. I get it. But you need to work on the tolerance and acceptance before you even get to that point, and because like you said, a lot of it is coming from home. These kids are taught to hate and act the way they do at home first,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then if it's not stopped at school, or like, hey, like your parents aren't necessarily right about this kind of stuff,
I feel like the school should have a space to say, hey, whatever hate or judgment you're bringing to this space, we don't accept that here. So if
Yeah.
if that's allowed at home in this space where all children are at, that is a like zero tolerance kind of thing. We don't accept that here. And also just providing more like mental health support to schools and to children who are struggling, who may need a therapist on campus, who may need to
Yeah.
have someone to talk to. Like, let's get that. I mean, mental health is one of the biggest issues in our entire country. And we're not focusing on these younger kids in school that really need it, whose
Right.
parents probably would never put them in it.
And COVID screwed everybody up,
Of course.
with all of the lockdowns and everything. Because sometimes, those kids are being left at home with their biggest enemy and,
Yes.
Mhm.
aren't in a safe place at home, so they saw things maybe they wouldn't normally if they were at school, so it's just so hard. And for sticking up for, my himself, like I was so mad. Like, are you serious? This never should have happened. Because now this kid feels threatened after all this other stuff. That sounds like bullshit to me, because he knew
Mhm.
he was in trouble. Like, you knew you were wrong. And so, it shouldn't have even been a thing. It should not have
Mhm.
been a thing. It should have been like, well, this is what you get for,
For
lucky
splitting
you
up.
didn't
Yeah.
get punched in the face.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So now that you've moved away from that, I mean, do you have fears of that all happening again? Like what sort of fears come up for you?
I mean, yeah, they're there, but not everybody, and I try to tell them, like, not everybody's going to like you, and they don't have
Mhm.
to. And you don't have to like everybody, but you don't treat someone poorly. You want to wear your anime shirt? I'll take you to Hot Topic and we'll buy it. I don't care. But don't let me hear you putting somebody down for something. We don't do that. you know,
Mhm.
and I expect you to stick up for somebody, you know.
Yeah.
So I just tell them, like, do you? I don't make yourself happy. And at the end of the day, that's what you need to do. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it for your father. Like, nobody. Do it for you. That's what you need to live for, is for you. And I tell them to stay out of the drama. I'm like, keep your mouth shut. Just
Yeah.
walk away. You know, don't you worry about you. That's it.
And since you had this, F it moment mind shift of, saying fuck it, how do you stay in that momentum and moving forward and not falling back to like the old way of being?
I don't know. I think I'm kind of a little bitchier now, which is kind of terrible. Like, I'll call the school about anything. And, you know, like, even in my work, like, I worked at a behavior school at that time. So I was used to the kids being jerks, like, all day. That's what they were. But now I'm like, you know what? Now I seem to notice things more, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that. It's not happening. You know, so I even brought it like to work with me, like, no, this isn't okay. And I don't take
Like a
any
quicker
crap.
response, right? A quicker
Yeah.
response to bullshit. I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
what it
And
sounds like.
sometimes
Yeah.
the filter, the lack of,
Yeah.
gets me in trouble. And I'm like, oh, wait, these aren't your kids. This is not your kid. You need
Yeah.
to watch it, you know, but I'm more, use the tolerance and everything more with my kids now, you know, in the classroom, like, you know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would ask you this, and following up, which, like, also, total props to you for finding that power and that strength to stand up for your son,
Hmm.
and being able to get into a place where you were willing to even leave the district and move and reset up somewhere else to protect him. I mean, that
Yeah.
is a big decision to protect your child, to actually like make steps and do action,
Hmm.
like physically,
Yeah.
emotionally. To make sure that the environment was safe for him.
Right.
And again, so many parents would just maybe sit back, let it happen. That kid gets picked on, picked on, picked on, picked on. The result of that, we hear all the stories, or we get involved and we do what we need to do to protect our kids. What advice would you give to another madre that's listening, that's going through this, what is your advice to somebody?
And I almost hate to give this advice. Don't always trust the school. Like, if something seems weird and something is off, it probably is. You know,
Yes.
don't be afraid to be that mom who's, well, what's going on? What happened? You know, and I'm not saying assume that your kid is completely innocent, you know, but don't be afraid. Do, you know, if you are looking to move somewhere, do your research, you know, look at reviews of schools, see if there's been anything, you know, going on. But don't trust that the school is going to be 100% safe place for your child. And I think it's kind of scary to admit that, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, especially with, in light of everything that's been going on with the school shootings, you can't assume anymore, but even inside the building, what's going on, you
Right.
know, it's, don't always assume that that everything is okay all the time. If it smells fishy, then it probably is.
It's trust that our mama instincts, our mama guts know. And I think most
Yes.
of us, we've shared on this podcast with other moms, it's the little voice that we're listening to. So in those
Yeah.
effort moments, that little voice, in that little effort moment, even as a mom, when something
Hmm.
feels off. And I think it's a great advice to say, hey, don't just trust it. When you drop your kid off to daycare, you drop your kid off to school, or you drop your kid off
Yeah.
even with anybody, in your gut if something feels wrong. And
Yeah.
definitely, I love the advice of like, do your research, because we can't just assume everything is
Right.
safe anymore. And that's really sad. It's a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
sad reality.
It
Yeah.
is. It's scary. Like, I teach preschool now. So I have 3 and 4 year olds, and it baffles my mind. And I have parents who don't come to parent teacher conferences, who don't come to back to school night, who don't sign up for parent events. I get it. People work. You can't come to everything, but you're sending your baby still in
Yeah.
diapers to me all day. I would want to see what the classroom looks like. I would want to meet this crazy lady who hangs out with 15 3-year-olds. every single day, and see where you're going. So I'm like, what? Like, I would be there. Like, what's going on? Oh, hey, I'm so-and-so. You need to reach me. Here's my number. Even if it's something silly, So, and if, that's maybe some more advice. Like, if you can be involved, like, go to back to school nights, go to conferences. It's, not only does it show like you support your child, but we love it. Teachers love it. I want to meet you. I want to know, if something's going on at home, let me know so I can see what's going on in school too, so try to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I've done it with her in school, and it helps me, and I have reassurance. I know that I've even gotten to know so many of her friends' families, and that's
Right.
important to me because I need to know what kids you're hanging out with and where
Right.
their homes are like, because
Right.
you're with them all day while I'm gone. So the information you're getting from these group of friends is coming from homes, and so it's my job to get to know those parents,
Right.
because it shapes her. Is there an organization or any websites or any places you could send any of the moms listening to go to if they were dealing with this?
I really don't, because like in New Jersey, our mental health situation and things like that is so shitty. There's waiting lists for years to even talk to anybody, and nobody calls you back. I would definitely start, though, if moms are experiencing bullying with their children, go on your school's website and read what their policy is supposed to be about bullying. So and if you feel like it's not being taken care of, go to that Board of Ed meeting. Mm-hmm. Make your presence known. Speak up. Tell them, because we went and, they need to know that you're not playing. Yeah. And if you don't, then nothing's going to get done. Like, light a fire under their asses and be like, look, this is not okay. You say zero tolerance. Well, that should mean zero tolerance. Not, boys will be boys, or, they're just playing around because it's not funny.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. That's great advice. Yeah. To look at that and then go to the board and really take it up and say, this is where they're at. So that's great. Yeah. Is there an Instagram that you would like anyone to follow, yours, or anywhere you'd like to send us? If not, it's totally fine.
I mean, you can put mine up. That's cool. Like, I'm always down to meet new people. And like I said, my son has autism. So if anybody else has any tips about that stuff that works for them, because we got his diagnosis and they were like, go ahead, be free, like, do with nothing.
And
so
that's what we love. Like, if you're open to that, then any moms that are dealing with bullying or have just had autism, diagnosed in their family, like, here's our community. Here's a mom that has been dealing with this. Let's reach out to one another. Let's be there for one another. So what is your Instagram handle?
It's my first name, Darby, and it's 052183.
Perfect. And we will put that up. And that's awesome that you're open to having any other moms reach out, because again, we are trying to create a community here. And by hearing stories and people that we can relate to, it helps for those maybe sitting at home alone that don't know what to do and feel alone in these type of situations.
Anybody ever needs to like vent, like whatever, shoot me a message. Like, that's cool, because it's nice to know you're not the only one going through something or who's dealt with it. So
totally. Hence why we've created this. Like,
because
we can't be alone. We're not alone.
Right.
So. Well, Darby, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to share with us. And we're going to say,
just F it.